everyone, Digital David here. Today in this video, I'm going to be checking out the eufy RoboVac L35 Hybrid Plus. This is a 2-in-1 vacuum and mop combo unit with self-empty base. I did receive this sample directly from eufy, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. Take a look at the retail box and packaging right here, going over some key tech specs and features. Same with the side. The back dives into even more detail on this product, as well as what's included in the box, customer service and contact information. And on this side, you'll see 2-in-1 vacuum and mop. Now let's go ahead, let's open it up and look at the contents. Here are all the contents. First up, we have our product literature featuring an owner's manual, quick start guide, and 1-year warranty information. Next, we have a cleaning and detangling tool, extra filter, extra vacuum bag, extra mop pad. We have a left and right side cleaning brush, as well as an extra left and right side cleaning brush. Power cable, the RoboVac itself. We'll come back to this unit in a second. We also have a base plate right here, and we have our self-emptying base. Let's go ahead, let's look at the base in more detail. Looking at the self-emptying base from the top, you'll notice we have our cylindrical design. It's very small and compact for a self-emptying base. You open up the lid at the top to reveal an already installed vacuum bag. You have 2 total that are included with this unit. Here's a look at the side profile, the other side. The back side has a hinge, some air vents, and we have our power cable connector right there with a little channel to route the cable down and to the left or to the right. While we're here, we might as well look at the very bottom. This is great. We have a clear window to see if we ever have any clogs or anything like that. And they did just use regular Phillips head screws in case you need to loosen that up to get anything unclogged or cleaned. Great that we have that window. A lot of grip feet here as well to let it rest securely on the floor without sliding around. You'll notice we have instructions here for the included mat, whatever you want to call it here. So you're going to line that up like you'd see right here, just like so. You could place that on the floor. Clear, transparent, eufy's logo and branding, some additional grip feet there. And now let's look at it from the very front. This one's small enough we can look at it this way. We have the eufy logo and branding, sticker with instructions, indicator light, some additional sensors, and you'll see right here we have the charging contacts and where it's going to suck the contents out of the dustbin for the vacuum to do it automatically. But a small, compact base with a nice cylindrical design. Now let's look at the vacuum. Looking at the vacuum from the top, you'll notice we have 2 physical buttons you can press, our LiDAR navigation module, eufy's logo and branding, they call it iPath laser navigation, a sticker here prompting us to download and update the mobile app and the firmware for the vacuum. Here's a quick peek at the side. You'll notice with our bumper, we have an additional sensor on this side, no sensor on the other side, but we do have some venting right there. Here's a quick peek at the back side. Here's a look at the very front with our navigational bumper. Also want to point out at the top, it appears that this set probably has a glass top, giving it a nice premium feel with their typical black and blue stripe design. Looks good. Turning it over to the bottom, we have our left and right side cleaning brush attachment spots, omnidirectional wheel, charging contacts, cliff sensors, additional product info with their support right there on the vacuum itself. We have our main brush roller here with our 2 spring-loaded drive wheels, our mopping module and pad at the bottom. This does remove by pressing in this button on both sides. So that'll remove the mop. Press, release. Here we go. So we have instructions, wet the cloth before mopping. And then before emptying the dust box, remove the mopping module. So you will have to remove that because you'll notice the dustbin right here, that's how it's going to self-empty, and this is going to block it. So that's why we need to remove that. We can also remove the dustbin, pressing this button, and then we can just pull everything out. Take a look at the inside with the dustbin removed. Pretty cool. Here's the dustbin and water tank, I should say, so we can add our water right there. Right from a sink, really easy to do. We can open this up to reveal the dustbin and the contents here, and it does go further down and back in right there. So it stores more than you think, but all the water's up top right there, which is pretty neat. Got a filter in here. See how everything looks. A couple of screws if you needed to remove that, which you shouldn't have to. They're all just Phillips head though, which is nice. And again, that's the flap out the back to empty the contents. Just right there. So bottom's going to be your dustbin. Top is going to be your water that we have. So dustbin, water, you get the idea. So they're separate, but still together. Now let's go ahead, let's get the rest of the vacuum set up. So besides filling the mopping tank with water, the only setup we have to do is to install the side cleaning brushes, right with the right indicator, the left with the left indicator, and you just press and they snap in place. They are color coded too, so match the blue with blue, gray with gray, or the L with L, and the R with the R. Now our vacuum's ready to be charged. So we have the vacuum connected and charging. We also have the Eufy app downloaded on our mobile device. This is the screen you're gonna be at where you can view any connected Eufy devices that you may already have installed. In this case, we have one RoboVac installed, but we need to install our new RoboVac by selecting the plus icon in the top right-hand corner. And you'll notice first up, we had that prompt for Bluetooth devices. It might be able to find it via Bluetooth, it might not, but doesn't matter. We can also pick and choose it from the list right here. So there's the LR30 Plus. So we can just browse until we find the L35 Hybrid Plus. Now we need to follow these steps. So we need to power it on and press and hold the start button for 3 seconds. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to reset the device by holding both buttons for 3 seconds until you hear a tone.
The Wi-Fi has been reset. Follow the instructions on the app to connect to a network.
So we got our voice prompt. We're going to select next. Now we need to give it a location option right here so we can allow. Then we have our Wi-Fi network. Same thing. Find your local network, enter your password, and select next. Keep in mind this is only compatible with 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi networks. Select next. Now we need to connect to the vacuum's Wi-Fi network within our settings. Under Wi-Fi, it'll show up right there. You're going to select it, connect to it, and then go back into the app. Back in the app, we got the connecting prompt, and now it's going to work on setting everything up. All right, everything was successfully connected. That took like 20 seconds. Now we have the option to name our device. So we have it all set up. Hit OK. And here we go. We have our RoboVac enabled right now. Let's go ahead. Let's look at more of the device settings. You may have noticed it said offline. Refresh the app. It's currently updating, so keep that in mind too. You probably have some firmware updates. In our case, we're at 98% until we can complete it to get to the latest version that's available at the time of this video. So the firmware has successfully been updated. We're going to enter back into our RoboVac, and they have prompts for how to set up the base station, carpet prep, house prep, make sure you have everything cleaned and organized, auto empty tips and tricks. Then we have a little walkthrough for the app here. So this is how everything's going to look once you enter into the vacuum with all of your settings and features. Let's start in the top right-hand corner. We're going to choose the settings gear icon. And now we have all of our device settings here. We can change the name. We have our network information. We have our map management options here. So multi-map saving. We can create a map right there. Schedules if you want to schedule a clean. What's the suction setting? Water level. Mode, pick and choose, hour, minute, days of the week you want it to repeat. Then we have our cleaning history. It'll show you the area, time, and cleanups once we populate that data. Manual controls, you can use your phone if you want to drive it. You can also have it do a spot clean or go home. Auto empty settings, you can adjust the frequency, 1, 2, or 3 cleans. Turn that on or off. We have their Boost IQ settings. This is great for carpet. So if it detects carpet, it'll increase the suction power. Highly recommend leaving that on. Child lock, auto return cleaning. So basically if the battery gets too low, it'll go back home, recharge, resume cleaning in the area in which it stopped. Do not disturb mode. We have voice settings here, different languages, a lot of languages supported. Unit settings, find my robot. So it's smart enough to know it's on the charging base. Let's take that off though.
Pause paused recharging.
There's the chime. And then you could just stop. That's nice. Pretty pleasant. Sharing settings with friends or family members. Then we have help and feedback, firmware updates if you have any additional updates. Then we have our activity log and accessory services. This is great, a nice breakdown of the wear and tear on the brushes, filters, sensors. You get the idea, what you may need and when. Pretty cool, right? Step by step, very detailed and thorough. Can reset or purchase as needed. Then we have our last option, which is going to be remove your device. So this is if you want to maybe get rid of it, reset everything. You can do that right there from within the settings. Next, you'll notice we have a couple icons here again showing the runtime, the square footage, battery indicator. Once we have a map, it'll show up right there. We can create a map. We have a couple different options down here. So we can manage the map. We can edit the rooms, no-go zone. We also have our dustbin collection button right there if you want to activate self-empty. Then we have our 4 different options down here, auto, room, zone, or spot clean. We have different modes. You can adjust the suction. Then the water level, up to you in which you prefer. Try them all out to see what one you like best. We can have it go home or we can start cleaning. Now that's a quick look at the app. We have nothing left to do besides let it create a map and actually clean. Our first clean's finished. We did a vacuuming and a mopping session. It didn't take very long to make the map for our new RoboVac. So we're gonna pull out the dustbin right here. We're gonna look at that up close. This is a self-emptying base, but I wanted to show you what's still on the inside. Right here we have some hair, some fibers, some crumbs still tucked a little bit further away in the back. So if you'll notice, there's still some residue here in our dustbin that was not sucked out. We'll also peek at it from maybe the inside here. If you can tell, we have some crumbs and debris there. Flipping it over, you'll notice we have a couple of tangles here on the main brush roller already, so make sure you're periodically checking this and the side cleaning brushes for any sort of hair, threads, things like that that might get caught. You will need to use the provided tool just to cut, or you can go ahead and you can pull them out. Now you'll see on the mopping module, everything looks nice here too. It's still damp to the touch, and I can see a little bit of dirt. It is slightly discolored, so we were able to pick up some stuff with the mopping pad. Now keep in mind, this isn't going to replace actually scrubbing your floors or giving it a nice, good and thorough deep clean. This is more so like taking just a damp paper towel or cloth and wiping your floors down. That's really what this is going to do. It's better than nothing, but it's not the end-all be-all solution. Lastly, I wanted to show you the vacuum bag right here. Since we did have the self-empty initiate, we actually have quite a bit of stuff in the bag. Try to get some of that up here. Maybe you can see in the side. There. Right in there, you'll notice a lot of fibers, hair, things like that already in the vacuum bag. But with this particular unit, it will leave a little bit in the dustbin, nothing to worry about, but you might want to check that occasionally as well in case anything starts to accumulate. Now let's take a quick peek back into the app since we have our map populated right here. So we're entering into the RoboVac. There's the map. You'll notice in this green room right here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have our little charging base icon for us. Did a really nice job getting everything mapped properly. Doesn't have any issues with the map. Nothing I've had to correct or change. So if we select the map icon now, we can manage our map, we can edit the room, and we can add no-go zones. So let's select edit room. And here, say this was incorrectly mapped. You can merge and divide and rename things as needed. I did not have to do any of that. It got it perfectly for us. Then we also have our no-go zone option. So we can set an area, right? Maybe you have a Christmas tree and a Christmas tree skirt on the ground and it gets caught in it. Maybe you have an area where you want to keep all of your shoes, things like that, where you just never want it to go over there and cause any trouble. You can just set that up. There's also these virtual boundaries. If you want to make a little virtual wall, you have that option. And there's a no mop zone. Maybe there's just another area where you don't want it to ever be mopped. You have that option to disable that section. Maybe you got a runner rug, things like that, and you don't want the mop over it. You can set that up all within your map. It's drag and drop, resize, pinch to zoom, all that good stuff right there. Also, you'll notice we have our auto, our room, our zone, and our spot clean. So just choose the area you want to target. So in this case, if we did zone, choose the zone, how many times, up to 3 times, boom, start cleaning. Or again, if there's a spot clean, tap the map to set a target cleaning point, and you can clean that spot as well. 3 passes all from within there. Or choose maybe a couple of rooms just to mop or to clean. You have that option. I do want to point out, I noticed when I was doing a mopping run myself with the mode, it appears we still have to have it vacuum even if you just want to mop. I think that's kind of interesting. So in that case, your best solution is just to turn the suction down to quiet and adjust the water level accordingly. But I'd like to see that added in the future where we could just mop or just vacuum. So we finished our 2 passes here. There's some hair still left on the rug, but not bad, and a couple of crumbs here or there. I think the biggest thing you'll notice is some of the sand is still here, but it's actually better than some other similar models. It really did a good job getting most of that sand up. We still have some slight discoloration here, so I know that there's some sand grains present on the rug, but you really can't feel them. So it did a good job on the sand and hair with just a couple of random larger crumbs left here, if you can see that right there. But good job on the hair. Why it does a good job with the hair is the fact that we have these brushes on the roller, but that does come with the cost of getting hair and threads tangled on the unit. So that's what you'll notice right there. Not too bad though for the amount of hair that we pulled up, but the longer the hair is, the more likely you will see build up here that you'll have to continually maintain and clean. Same can be said for these side cleaning brushes. They will also attract hair around the base that you'll have to pull off, cut, and remove. Alright, so after 1 pass, all the sand has been sucked up, most of the Cheerios as well. Right along the base right here, the side cleaning brush did hit some pieces out of the way, so after a couple more passes, it'd be able to get most of those larger pieces. And I just see a few remaining hairs down here, just a couple, but it didn't have any issues at all lifting them right off our hard floor and surface. And I feel a little bit of sand here. You can't see any, but you can feel a little bit of the grains to the touch of your fingertips. One more peek of the underside here. You'll notice same thing. We have some of the hair still tangled from our previous clean, and we picked up some from this clean. So just make sure to maintain the brush and the side cleaning brushes regularly to keep any buildup at bay. So to make sense of what you've seen from our everyday clean around the house, as well as our cleaning tests, let's talk about this vacuum's performance. We have a couple of key metrics and indicators to go over. Keep in mind, this is just our own data that we've gathered and benchmarked. This is not official spec. So if you're concerned about anything, be sure to consult with the brand directly for further clarification. First up, we measure max suction power. So in this case, the L35 came in at 3,200 PAs. The brand as a whole, so we have been able to cover 3 Anchor eufy devices, and our average is 4,217 PAs, and our all tested average across about 30 RoboVacs is 3,100 PAs, so we're well within range. Typically, the higher the better, but if you're familiar with like iRobot Roombas, the max suction power does not always equate to the best and deepest cleaning. So typically it's a good indicator, but it's not the end all be all. Same can be said with max CFM. So the L35 got a score of 6.1. Typically the higher the better. The brand overall average 6.6, so we are below average there. And of all vacuums tested, 6.9 is the average that we have. So the L35 falls short well within its own lineup, as well as all vacuums tested. Next, for deep cleaning, this is our own test where the best possible score is 100. We basically embed a bunch of coffee grounds into carpet, and we let the vacuum run for 5 minutes, and we weigh the dustbin before and after to see what it's able to collect. So we got a score of 80 with this vacuum. The brand averaged 75, so we are above average there. Of all vacuums tested, typically we are averaging around 85. So we're well within range there, just slightly below average. In regards to decibels, this is going to be how loud the vacuum is. The lower, the quieter it will be, the higher, the louder it will be. We average 70.1 decibels. The brand as a whole averaged 65 decibels. This is skewed lower because the 2 other units that we've reviewed from eufy Anchor are very quiet. Out of all tested, 68.5 is the average. So again, we're slightly above average in regards to noise. Battery life is measured in minutes. The L35 has 145 minute battery life. The brand averages 175 minutes. And out of all tested units, 126 minutes is the average. So we are getting an above average runtime in regards to battery life. This is typically made possible due to battery capacity, which is measured in milliamp hours. Higher the better, but it doesn't always equate to longer battery life due to just so many variables in regards to the construction and performance of your vacuum. So the L35 has a 3,200 milliamp hour battery. The brand averages 2,800 milliamps, so we are above average there in our capacity. And of all tested units, we're averaging 3,284 milliamp hours, so we're definitely dead even at that average. Next, we have the height of the RoboVac. This can be important to you guys considering the type of furniture you have around the house. The L35 comes in at 3.9 inches for its max height. The brand as a whole comes in with an average of 3.2. Again, due to the 2 sample units that we have, they're very slim and compact, and that's what they're made for, to be some of the lowest units available. So that's going to be skewed lower. 3.5, 3.8 really is the average for most RoboVacs. They typically have the same form factor. So of all tested units, we're at 3.5. So the L35 is going to be taller than average, but right within range, because most, if you have LiDAR like this unit does, come in right at that 3.8 to 4 inch mark. Bin capacity, I would argue, doesn't really matter in this case since we have the self-emptying bin, but the bin inside the L35 comes in at 200 milliliters. The brand averages 465. This can get really skewed depending on your make and model. Typically, you'll find a smaller bin capacity in the self-emptying models. And again, you don't really have to worry about it. Whereas if you have a non-self-empty, then typically you're gonna have a larger dustbin. Out of all tested, again, this is a mix and match of both self-emptying and not. The average is 422 milliliters. Now let's talk about cost here. There's so many different variables and factors that go into the price. What features does it have? You're gonna pay a couple couple $100 more for a self-emptying base, mopping, and LiDAR navigation to give you that awesome mapping experience. So in this case, it holds true that we're above the brand average in regards to price point, and we're close, but still a couple $100 extra versus the average across all the vacuums that we've reviewed. But keep in mind that total is considering units that don't have any self-emptying base, LiDAR, or mopping modules, as well as some units that do and would cost a lot more than the L35. So with that being said, just keep in mind, typically you're going to pay more for the self-emptying base, LiDAR navigation, and the mopping module. And in my own personal preference and opinion, it's definitely worthwhile to get the self-emptying base, even if it costs you more money, because the whole point of buying a RoboVac is to relieve yourself from the duties of actually cleaning your house. So why not pay extra to get you a step further in that process to full automation? Here are my final thoughts after using the eufy RoboVac L35. First thing I want to say is when you're shopping and considering a RoboVac, there's multiple price points you have to consider and what features are essential for you versus just a luxury. With this particular vacuum, it's great to see we have LiDAR navigation. That's one of the necessities for me. Self-emptying base is also a necessity for me. And mopping module is a luxury just because I don't think they do the best job personally. It's better than not having one. But like I always say, it's just equivalent to like a damp paper towel or cloth wiping your floors. This vacuum had one of the most unique self-emptying bases that I've ever seen. I like the cylindrical design. It's really cool. And it's more compact, so easier maybe to place and store around your house. I'll give them some points for that. It was also unique that it would basically, drive up to it, self-empty, turn around, and charge. Not really sure why they couldn't just orchestrate all of that in one, but kind of a unique feature for this, but that's also another hurdle in the going home charging process. So just something else to consider as you're shopping around. Other than that, I want to point out that even though this does have LiDAR, which is an essential for me personally, it is not the best navigator. I just don't think the app is super polished, and compared to some other vacuums that I'm testing at this time, let's just say from brands like Dreamy, they just seem to sense and do a better job navigating versus this vacuum. Nothing wrong, it never got stuck, things like that, but it just seemed a little bit slower and clunkier. Maybe it's just the app, maybe it's just what I'm used to in my own personal preferences, but again, something to consider. If you're coming from eufy and you're already using that product, not going to be a big deal for you. Otherwise, I want to point out one more thing. This is what I'd call a bulldozer of a vacuum cleaner. Usually when I'm reviewing a RoboVac, they'll be more of like a princess where they won't try to attempt to go up certain things, climb certain things. They just are more sensitive to the objects around them. This one, bulldozer, bruiser, whatever you want to call it, just continues to steamroll things in its way. It's climbing up desk legs, things like that. It's going over its own cleaning base. So I'm not really sure why that is. Some of you might appreciate that depending on the objects around your house. It may or may not get stuck more than usual, but it's going to attempt to drive over things that maybe other RoboVacs won't even attempt to do.